All right, let's take a look at rhythm pattern number 3. Now, the way that we learned rhythm pattern 3 in the previous lesson, which was EP 167, we learned it like this. Let me play through it real quick. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So it went back and forth. It was another call and response, but if you'll notice it's different because the call is actually a lead this time. So we're starting with the lead part, then playing the response or the rhythm part. So we got lead first, then rhythm. It's kind of backwards from the other two patterns, but I wanted to throw this in because this is another way that you can do it. The one thing that was a constant in the previous lesson was the call was always the same. It was always right, and the response changed. You had that chord, you had the E7 chord, you had the D7 chord, and back to the A7 sharp 9. So you had the three chords that were changing, but the call part, the lead part, stayed the same. So we're going to keep the structure, so the chords are going to be exactly the same, and we're going to put them in the exact same places. The only thing we're going to swap out is instead of playing that same little repeated lead over and over again, we're going to replace it with the leads that we've been doing in the previous patterns for this lesson. So the first one we're going to learn, which you should already know if you're doing these in order, that is now this sounds very similar to this, and that's because it starts with the same notes. Now we're playing them in a different position, but the same notes for the beginning, for this first time period. So you should already know this. Starting on the 7th fret, 3rd string, sliding up to the 9th fret, hitting that 10th fret, 2nd string, sliding back down to the 7th fret, 5th fret, 3rd string, 7th fret, 4th string. So we have, that's the first call, and then the response is to come up and play this A7 sharp 9. Now I'm going to assume you know how to make this. If you don't, I do cover it in EP 167. I know you're obviously a premium member if you're seeing this, so you have access to that, or you can look at the tab, but I don't want to belabor the point, but that's the A7 sharp 9. And the way that I strum it was down, up, muted strum, and then another up, like that. So putting it together, we have, and actually there's a little hammer on there. You can do that or play it or leave it out. I can't remember if I tabbed it, but that would be on the 7th fret, 3rd string. Okay, that's the first time through. Now the second call is different. It goes, and so again, this is repeating a lot of what we've already learned, but we're starting on the 7th fret, 3rd string, sliding up to the 9th fret, 8th fret, 1st string, 10th fret, 2nd string. There's a slide that goes from the 7th fret down to the 9th fret down to the 7th fret on the 3rd string. So backing up, we have, there's the 5th fret, 3rd string, 7th fret, 4th string. Then back to the response, which is that A7 sharp 9. Okay. There's the A part. Now when we go to the D part, I played that same little B.B. King style lick. This is the A major pentatonic scale pattern 4. And I explained exactly what that is if you're seeing this out of context in the first video, the part 1 video for this lesson. But it starts on the 12th fret, 2nd string. It's a bend and release. 10th fret, 2nd string. Back to the 12th fret. There's the 11th fret, 3rd string, played with the middle finger. And then watch this. That's a hammer-on pull-off. So I just picked that once. Love that. And then gave it some vibrato there. Okay, and then the chord is an E. I'm sorry, it's not an E, but it's a D7 chord here. And so we play it like that. And to make that chord, it's very easy. There's just 3 notes. Pinky's on the 13th fret, 2nd string. Middle finger is on the 11th fret, 3rd string, and then index finger is on the 10th fret, 4th string. And you're just playing strings 4, 3, and 2. Now, another way to think of this chord, if you're making a D chord, or a D7th chord, I should say, like this, it's the same thing. I'm just not making the full chord because I don't need to. Just making those notes, playing those notes out of it. All right, let's back it up. We have. Okay, and then we go down to the Freddie King lick, which sounds like that. Now that's note for note exactly what we did in the previous videos. You can see that in the tab. It starts on the 8th fret, 2nd string, and this is that meandering back and forth. It starts in the minor pentatonic scale, but it goes to the major. And then it goes down to the 7th fret, 4th string. And then I concluded it, and I can't remember if I tabbed this. It's sort of like a trailing note, kind of like if you're singing and you hit a few notes as you run out of breath. That would be the 5th fret, 3rd string. That note. If you don't add that, you could just end it here. Back to the A7 sharp 9. And then I go to the E part, which is exactly the same as what we've done. This is the ZZ Top style, Billy Gibbons kind of thing, where I'm going down to the E chord. I'm doing a slide up. This is where I'm thinking E minor pentatonic scale to switch the scale to match this chord. I like to do that over the 5 chord. I think that gives you a nice little punch sometimes. Slide from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret on the 3rd string. Use your middle finger to do a pluck here on the 3rd fret. So I got my index finger going down the 3rd fret, 2nd string. So you slide back down to the 2nd fret. Open G string. And then the 2nd fret, 4th string. There's that hammer on. You're just making an E chord. Hammering on to the 1st fret on the 3rd string. And then playing that open 1 string, or the open E string. And then I played the E7 chord up here. Now that's using the exact same chord shape we learned when we learned the D7. We just slide it up 2 frets so that our index finger's on the 12th fret. And then I concluded with an Eric Clapton lick, which was right here back in the A major pentatonic scale, pattern 4, just like we did the second time through as we went to the D part. So to play this lick, since this is a new one, this is a kind of a new twist. Everything else has been repetitive from what we've learned. This is another bend and release on the 12th fret, 2nd string, and then the 10th fret, 2nd string. You have that, right? And then there's this, which, so after I go to the 10th fret, 2nd string, I go back to the 12th fret, 2nd string, and then watch this. I picked that once. So that's a hammer on to the 12th fret. So you leave my index finger on the 10th fret, 2nd string. Hammer on to the 12th fret, 2nd string. Do a pull off. Do a hammer on with my middle finger to the 11th fret, 3rd string. So it goes. And it's actually really not that hard to do. Just know that when you're doing the pull off, you're kind of pulling down and flicking that string. So, see, from the E, and And then that final note there is the 10th fret second string. And the last response is the A7 sharp 9. And then if you wanted to repeat it, pretty cool. That's the, I don't know, kind of a Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan style call and response, where you got the lead stuff happening, and then you've got that very predictable response, which is the chord. So the chord becomes the response. A little different twist on it, but a lot of material covered in this week's lesson. I hope you've got, I know you've got a lot of work just to try and learn all of that. If you feel like this is getting too easy and you want to be challenged even further, take out all of the responses that I've showed you and then start working in your own. So the scales we're within, so you could take any of these rhythms and you can take the call and keep that the constant, but then replace the response. That would be a great practice for you, and it would be something that you should be able to improvise at some point. You should be able to start to improvise. Now, it may not be super complicated, but to be able to come up with some of your own licks on the fly, you'll see how much fun that is, especially when you're doing it with a full band. It's like a total blast. All right, that's what we have this week. I hope you've enjoyed this. I know I have, as always.